We should never internalize anti-Semitism by thinking that we are the problem. We are not the reason why people hate. The reason why people hate are because they have chosen to be hateful, not because there is anything that we are doing which is wrong. It's not because of the way Jews dress. It's not because of the culture that we have. It's not because of any of that. Loving people have no issue with different culture and different dress, and hateful people do. We have to, on the contrary, we have to be very open about our identity and express it as much as possible to demonstrate confidence and clarity in who we are as individual people. In this way, not only are we strengthening the Jewish people, but we're strengthening all minorities by not succumbing to the intimidation of anti-Semites. We have to share God's mission in the world, which is our duty and our responsibility. We have to thank God for giving us a land which was divinely endowed to us, which means that we have a responsibility with that land. It's not just something that we get to choose whether we do want or don't want, do like or don't like, but it's a responsibility that God has given us with the land of Israel. And then we should avoid publicly naming and shaming people who are anti-Semites, but instead we should first try and use as much influence as possible. Very often that's going to produce results. But here's the last thing that we didn't discuss. Very often people do a great job at being, trying to create world peace. But when you ask them what's going on in their home, they can't get along with a single member of their family. So it's very important to know that everything does start at home. And for us at home is the Jewish people, the Jewish community. It's very important that there be very strong unity amongst the Jewish people. And when I say the Jewish people, I mean the Jewish people. It makes no difference. Very same way that we talk about, different dress, different customs, different beliefs. It makes no difference. There needs to be an understanding that at the core, every single Jew is united, and we have to, at that core level, we can have differences and we can disagree. Maybe we can't disagree. I just want to say that not everyone has actually learned the art of disagreeing. And if you haven't learned the art of disagreeing, then don't get into that conversation. But do know at the same time one thing. Don't use that as an excuse to be separate from a Jew. Every single one of us has to be united. And we learned, going back to the story of Purim, we learned how powerful unity is, because we have from Haman that when Haman went to Ahasuerus, the king, to say that there's this strange people, he described this in a very unique way. Let's read, I'll read text 12a. Haman told King Ahasuerus that there is one nation that is scattered and dispersed among the nations throughout all the countries of your empire. How does he describe the Jewish people? He describes us as a people who are scattered and dispersed. What does he mean by that? So let's go to 12b. Haman claimed there is one nation that is scattered and dispersed. He was referring to the fact that the Jews were internally scattered and dispersed. So there's a literal meaning to it, which is accurate, but there's also a deeper meaning to it. And he argued that they would be unable to defend themselves because a discordant people cannot develop a cohesive strategy, nor would they pay heed to their leaders. He said, look, they don't have unity. They're an easy people to get rid of. There will never be an uprising amongst the Jewish people. What has been one of the greatest advantages that that Israel has had with being surrounded, I don't know what the numbers are, 100, 200, 500 to 1 in the Middle East? Israel's united. At least when we're at war, we're united. But at least we get united then, right? When we're at war, we're united. And the Arab nations are not. They all have self-interest, so they're not united. That just shows you the power of unity. If we need to see it in a very concrete way. Subsequently, when the Jews repented, but what ultimately happened when the decree came out from Ahasuerus is that the Jews repented, there was unity among them, and they gathered in their cities with mutual love. That's one of the reasons why in the holiday of Purim, one of the 4 mitzvahs that we observe on Purim is we send gift packages of food to our fellow Jew. That's one of the mitzvahs. Why is that a mitzvah? Because that's what happened during that time. The Jewish people strengthened their connection to each other. So there is a very strong connection between Jewish disunity and anti-Semitism. I say this all the time. The greatest weakness that the state of Israel has today is the conflict that exists between religious Jews and secular Jews. that we don't need all the secular Jews to become religious, and we don't need all religious Jews to become secular to have unity. This is a major flaw in the, I think, in the approach that many people have. And the moment someone thinks differently than me, I see them as an enemy. It's like literally the class that we learned tonight. We immediately see them as an enemy. They're not an enemy. They have a different opinion. And one of the great exercises that every single one of us should exercise is meeting a Jew. And I referred to this earlier in the course once, but meeting a Jew who is diametrically opposed, or we believe is diametrically opposed to us, and like literally invite them for coffee or dinner and pay for it, and hear them out. Just hear them out, and not all of it actually has to be in conflicting issues. Just get to find out, like I said earlier, that they also have kids who speak back to them, and that they also have to pay a mortgage, and they're also worried about an illness that someone is suffering from. Like 98% of life is all the same, and we're so the same, right? And then there are things that we differ on, and a lot of times we will also become very enlightened. The people that can enlighten us the most are the people who think differently than us. You know, one of the great tragedies of what's going on in our world today is that people only listen to news that's aligned with their thinking, which is really destructive, because we can't expand that way. It's very important to converse with people who have different opinions, and we need to do this first and foremost amongst the Jewish people, right? Just understand someone else, right? Just listen to someone else. Go into the conversation with a conscious intention not to convince them, but to hear them. You'll also find that that's the best way to influence someone. Just so happens, but don't go in with that intention. And that's why we say in our prayers, Barcheinu Avinu, bless us our Father, Kulanu, all of us, Ke'echad, as one. When God sees us as one, then there is blessing that comes upon the Jewish people. I say this in synagogue very often, that there's a statement from our sages, that the only vessel that can contain blessing is peace. If there isn't unity and peace, there is nothing that a cracked vessel cannot hold a blessing. It just falls right out. And that's the reason why Esther, when she fasted before going to King Ahasuerus to tell her that Haman's trying to kill her people, right? What did she tell Mordechai? Gather all the Jewish people and have them all fast. She wanted there to be a unifying effort where all the Jewish people are communally doing the same thing together, because that makes us very, very powerful. So we must not forget that the greatest power we have against anti-Semitism is our own family. We need to see a fellow Jew as a member of our family. That may not be a good analogy for everyone, but really embracing and learning the art of embracing people who have different views and may be different than us. And at the end of it all, by being strong, proud Jews and standing staunchly, using our influence, not our aggression, we will keep anti-Semitism at bay until ultimately we're going to experience where history is taking us, and that's the Messianic era, where the entire world will be living at peace, because God will be revealed to the world, and there will be no denial of truth, and everyone will acknowledge the one God.